Welcome back to IGN Live from Gamescom 2018. It's time to take a look at Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. And right off the bat, I have to apologize for Andrew for dragging him up onto this demo. He doesn't have much experience with Persona.
It's against my will.
So Sarah and I are going to be taking the charge on this interview.
We'll teach you everything you need to know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I kid. You're not going to find a bigger Persona fan than this big boy right here. What did you play through? You played through Persona 5 in Japanese like 5 times?
I did. I got the platinum in Japanese, and then I did it for this game.
And yeah, you've already played through Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight in Japanese.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about this. This is a rhythm game spin-off, right?
Yes, so this is a chance to dance with your favorite characters in Persona 5, with all the Persona 5 art and style and the great engine, but to compete in a dance battle set within the Velvet Room in different stages.
And I like this one's really fun because you just jump into it. Like, you just start playing, whereas Persona 4 Dancing All Night was more of a sort of a visual novel campaign thing.
Yeah, Persona 4 had, like you say, it has a story. It had quite a complicated story, actually, which is very rewarding. But what we've done here is we've still got the story element, but it's more focused on letting fans spend more time just seeing their characters interact with each other, seeing Futaba geek out with everyone else, watching Morgana get sassed by Ryuji all over the place, but within this unique challenge scenario. So as you play through the game, you unlock the community and the social links, and you see more of the interaction, which helps you unlock more costumes, more locations.
Are the locations all recognizable from, like, in this case, Persona 5? This is Shibuya Crossing?
Yeah, everyone you'll recognize in Persona 5, and the same in Persona 3. Obviously, we know that Persona 3 has a really passionate and really core fan base, and we're excited for more fans to discover that world because it's quite an old game.
And it's a really interesting split to have them as 2 separate games.
Yes.
Can you talk about, I know they're going to be together, or you have the option of buying them together when they come out?
So you can buy the Endless Night collection, which gives you Persona 3 dancing, Persona 5 dancing, and an art book, and Persona 4 dancing is a digital download, which means the first time on PS4 you can play Persona 4 dancing.
It's pretty cool. And that one won't be available separate?
No, Persona 4 is only available in the bundle.
I see.
So we're joined by a friend here when we enter like fever mode. How does that work?
So fever mode, you can, I mean, you can do it for me at this point. Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Yes, so fever mode is a really fun feature where as you play through, and the better you are, Elaine's doing very well, your friend will jump in. Now, as you play it the first time, the other characters randomly assigned to you, but as you complete it, you'll be able to select the characters, which we show you in the next track. What's really fun is that all the characters' dance moves are very inspired by their personality. So when you have Ryuji come in as a partner in fever mode, he like runs onto the stage because he's a massive dork, and when Futaba comes in, she sort of moonwalks her way across. No one can see me do the gestures, which is great right now. So all the dance moves are really heavily inspired by their characters. Makoto is very kind of like structured. She's got this really rhythmic sense to her. And when you see Yusuke, you're just like, wow, what are you doing? This is amazing.
I mean, I really like that, too. I like that they kind of maintain the spirit of the characters, because it's totally true. Like, Futaba's just weird and dancing awfully, and like Makoto's like very like dignified and walking through it.
Very graceful. And I think it's really noticeable in Persona 3 dancing as well with Mitsuru, who's like almost like a ballerina as you plays through, and then you've got, I keep calling him Stupei, and it's not his name, Junpei, who is that sort of Ryuji sort of like brawler, jumping around with high energy. So as for a fan of the series, which I know you are and I am, it's a really great chance to see them outside of roles you'd normally see them in, especially like the Makotos, the Mitsurus of the world.
So as far as how the gameplay works, you've got 6 buttons split on either side of the controller, right, that you tap along with the rhythm. And then you switch things up with, sometimes you have to hold them, sometimes you have to press buttons at the same time.
Yeah, you've got holds, you've got repeat taps. You've also got this scratch to initiate fever mode, which you can use with the right analog stick. But on this one, you can also scratch using the pad on the PS4, similar to what you used to do on the Vita with P4D.
And you're coming to Vita. You're keeping Vita alive. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So we will digitally be available, both titles on Vita, including the bundle that comes with P4D.
All right, cool. So which location is this?
So this is you down in Mementos. And this is, I'm not going to call them all best girl because I'm just going to get shouted at by fans. This is Anne. So right now they're wearing their standard costumes, which are their school uniforms. But after you've done certain interactions, you'll unlock the dancing ones you'll see from the key art. So she's got the headphones, she's got like a much more casual t-shirt. And as you go through the game, you unlock more unique ones like Shujin Winter Academy and things like that.
And I think the costumes that are kind of included in the game itself are crazy and weird.
There's a lot. There's an insane combination. I mean, on your base game, you've got 25 songs, and then you've got a whole host of costumes and additions you can do. Not to mention 3 difficulty modes and a 4th one you can unlock, which is what I'm sure you played on many times.
Very badly. I played a lot of the game. Doesn't mean I'm good at the game. Can you say at all, in Japan we got pretty extensive DLC, throwbacks to other Shibuya Tensei games, things like that. Is any of that coming?
So we're still working out DLC plans. Like you say, the Japanese offering was huge and vast and quite complicated. So we're still working out with partners and within the company which will work and which models we can go with.
Is there a story to follow along with here?
Yeah, essentially, if you imagine, I mean, I can weave a tale. You go to sleep, you wake up, you're in the Velvet Room, all your friends are there, and then suddenly the twins, who are, spoiler alert, separated again, set you this challenge to see if you can really entertain them and be the best dancer. But you have no restrictions. So there's a really great scene you have in Futaba where she's like, oh, I'm nervous, my heart's racing, I'm really bad at everything, I'm a terrible dancer, I'm going to fall over. And you're like, no, in this world, you're the best dancer. You can do nothing wrong in this world.
So I played on Vita when I played the Japanese version,
yes.
But I understand that on PS4 there's some kind of PSVR functionality.
Yes, you can go and check out their rooms. So you go and check out their not saying personal space. You can so you can go and see Ryuji's bedroom, and you can explore it in VR as well. And they're really cool spaces because they're so tied to characters. So if you go into Makoto's, it's like being in a library. It's like everything's color coordinated. But also in VR, you can see that she has a lot of like secret nerdy comics in there and a few little pieces of manga that she probably wouldn't admit to in public.
Well, so how do the Persona 5 and Persona 3 versions compare to each other? Are they basically the same structure, just with those individual games, characters, and locations? Yeah,
same sort of basic gameplay mechanic in both of them, but visually they're very different. So if you're familiar with Persona 3, it's that sort of like the blues and the greens, and it's quite dark feeling game compared to 5, which is bright and very colourful. So aesthetically they look very different, but you're looking at the same dance moves in both, and there's a little bit like they'll talk about each other at certain points, but it's not like a crossover.
Andrew, do you think someone who has played Persona 5, like their experience with this game is going to be enriched? They're going to get more out of it?
I really do. I think like the moments you were talking about, like the fan service moments of people, like you mentioned Persona 3, like you have Junpei and Yukari like have this weird like antagonistic thing going on, and you kind of do get, I definitely think you get more out of it if you know the relationships.
Yeah, I think like the song we're doing right now, which is Blooming Villain, the remix, it's because it's Ryuji based, obviously you're doing it in one of the very first palaces, but there's a really fun interaction here where it defaults to Morgana as your partner. You'll see it later, you'll see it in a minute. Their interaction with each other is really antagonistic because they're so mean to each other at the beginning of the game. And as they finish, he just lobs him off camera. So it's full of little details, like Andrew said. If you've played the game, you recognize it, but if not, you're still seeing a really quite heartwarming interaction between two different characters.
I think also the song selection itself is really interesting for people who played the game, because it gets like they're all the standard ones, and then there's some weird like remixes and like live performances.
There's a really good variation. There he goes. There's a really good variation of tracks that you'll know, like Rivers in the Desert, where you're instantly like bopping along, and a few that you don't recognize as much because they're background music, but we get to bring some of that background music to the forefront where you can actually hear it when you're not listening to character dialogue or you're in battle and things like that.
So I played Persona 5 in Japanese with English subtitles. Is that an option here?
So yeah, we've got Japanese audio, English audio, and then we have eFig subtitles, so it will default to whatever country you're from as well.
Andrew, what do you think is so fun about these games?
I think it is that social link sense, right? It's that getting, you have that sense of like you actually go through a journey with these characters and you get to know them specifically, like one by one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you kind of pick which one you like better.
Ryuji.
Yeah, exactly. Ryuji for you, yeah.
And I think with P3, there's, at least for me, when we first got the build in the office, it's my favorite game. I almost got emotional seeing these characters that I've spent all this time with, but I'd never seen them on a PS4. I'd never seen them next generation. I'd never seen them look this good. And especially given like the story of P3, that one feels like a real celebration of a character that may not have the happiest story arc.
Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, this looks right out of Persona 5, but the Persona 3 one also really striking to see them actually realized in HD.
Akihiko, oh my.
Very cool. So both Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight are out December 4th?
Yes, correct.
This year.
Yep, and if you get the Endless Collection, you'll get your download for P4D right at the same time. So you could binge all 3 of them very quickly.
Very cool. That's a lot of dancing.
That's a lot of happiness. That's what that is.
That's a lot of happiness. Sarah, thank you so much for coming by the IGN stage.
No worries, thank you.
Stay tuned. So much more to come from Gamescom 2018 here on IGN Live after this.